All right, here we go. So we got plenty to do today, so we're going to just get right after it. I'm going to talk fairly quick, so try to pay attention. If you want to punch things into your, I would like you to punch things into your calculator as we do them to help me out so we can get through this, so you can get to working on the practice test in a short order of time. The first one, which is sides A, which side's B, which side's C? Well, which side's C? 10. We know C is 10. Doesn't matter which is A and which is B.
Where are you at? What are you looking at?
All right, my screen's frozen. There we go. All right, there we go. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. So 10 squared equals X squared plus 6 squared. 10 squared is 100. X squared is X squared. 6 squared is 36. If we subtract 36 from each side, X squared equals 64. And then what do we do to each side? Square root. X equals 8. Okay, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Then on the test, we'll have a couple of problems where you have to figure out if they're right triangles or not. How do we figure out if they're right triangles or not? Well, you make this A, make this B, make this C. Always make sure the longest side C is 13 squared equal to 5 squared plus 12 squared. Is 169 the same as 25 plus 144? These are equal, so yes, it is a right triangle. Here is 26 squared the same as 8 squared plus 21 squared. This is like 576, 676. This is 64, and this is 441. Is 441 plus 64 equal to 576? No, it is not equal, so no, it is not a right triangle. Right triangle, not a right triangle. Okay, Pythagorean theorem, first two problems on the test, and the second problem involves like 3 problems. So basically the first 4 problems on the test are Pythagorean theorem. The next 2 problems after that are 45, 45, 90 triangles and 30, 60, 90 triangles. If this side is 7 on a 45, 45, 90, what's this side? 7. And this side is 7 square root of 2. If you forget, you look right there. Okay? 30, 60, 90. If this is 10, what's the short side? 5. And the long leg? 5 square root of 3. And if you forget that, it's right here. And if you need me, I can move the poster further that way for the test. Okay, for the sign of A, this is a multiple choice problem. I don't even reduce the fractions. Just write down the fraction, what the sign of A is. A is what over what? Opposite over hypotenuse. What's the opposite of A? 96. The hypotenuse? 112. Opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. Okay, it's opposite over hypotenuse. So it's 96 over 112. That's all you have to do on that one. Then when you get to this one, you actually have to find x and y so you can find the perimeter using sine or cosine. Okay? So which one's the hypotenuse on this one? 20 is a hypotenuse. From 62, what's x? Opposite. So this would be adjacent. Okay? So to figure out x, opposite and hypotenuse is what trig function? Sine. So the sine of 62 is x over 20. How do I get x alone? Multiply by 20. So on your calculator, somebody take 20 times the sine of 62. What do we get? We'll call it 17.7. On this test, we're going to round to the nearest tenth. If it doesn't tell you anything else, round to the nearest tenth. Okay? Y is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that would be cosine of 62 is y over 20. So multiply by 20. 20 times the cosine of 62. 9.4. Okay? So what we're going to do is take 20 plus 17.7 plus 9.4 and add them together. And we get 47.1, and that is the perimeter. Okay. On this one, is this a right triangle? No. So if we don't have a right triangle, we have to use the law of, this is opposites. So it's the law of sines. Law of sines is opposite. The sine of 36 over its opposite side, x, equals the sine of 21 over its opposite side, 12. So we cross multiply. X sine of 21 equals 12 sine of 36. Divide by the sine of 21. $11.8. No, that is not the answer. 12 sine of 36 divided by the sine of 21. Thank you, Lindsay. 19.7. What you got? Is that what you got? Okay. That's finding a side using law of sines. Now we're going to find an angle using law of sines. Same thing, opposites. The sine of x over its opposite side, 12, equals a sine of 53 over its opposite side, 17. It's always the sine of the angle. Never take the sine of a side. It's the sine of the angle. Okay, cross multiply. 17 sine of x equals 12 sine of 53. Divide by 17. Sine of x equals 12 times the sine of 53 divided by 17, which is 0. Let's get 4 decimals. 5637. So then, to figure out what x is, you need to move the sine to the other side to become the inverse sine of 0.5637. And how big is the angle? 34.3. I'll go with that. Okay, if we need to find the perimeter of this, okay, and let's say we only have 2 angles. Well, to find the third angle, just take 180 minus this, and we get 94.3, right? So now, if we want to find the perimeter, this is C, this is A. How do I find A? Do I have opposites? Yeah, no, not law of cosines. Do I have opposites? Yeah, I have opposites. So if I have opposites, I want to use law of sines. Okay? The sine of 94.3 over A equals, then we have to use the 2 that we know, the sine of 46.5 over 14.5. Okay? Cross multiply. A sine of 46.5 over 14.5 sine of 94.3. And then divide by the sine of 46.5. 19.9. Yeah, round to the nearest tenth, 19.9. We're good there. Okay, now to find C, its opposite side, sine of 39.2 over C equals the sine of 46.5 over 14.5. So C sine of 46.5 equals 14.5 sine of 39.2, and divide by the sine of 46.5. 11.7. So to find the perimeter, we take 14.5 plus 11.7 plus 19.9, add them together, we get 1, carry a 2, and we get 6, carry a 1, so 46.1. Okay, so we had 3 straight problems with laws of sines. 1 to find a side, 1 to find an angle, and 1 to find the perimeter, so we have to find 2 sides. Then, when we have side angle side, we don't have any opposites here. If you don't have opposites, you use law of cosines. So if we name it A, B, and C, which of the 3 law of cosines do I use for this one? A squared, the A squared one, because I have angle A. So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of A. So X squared equals 22 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 22 times 14 cosine of the angle 65. X squared equals some big number. So you punch all that straight into your calculator just the way it is. 22 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 22 times 14 times the cosine of 65.
419.7.
And then we take the square root of each side because that's what x squared is. We want x, and x equals 20.5 to the nearest tenth. Okay, 20.5. Okay, that was to find a side. Now we find an angle. So which law of cosines formula do I use on this one? B squared, because I'm looking for angle B. So I'm going B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine of B. So A, B, C. B squared, 24 squared equals 28 squared plus 22 squared minus 2 times 28 times 22 cosine of B. Okay, a little work to get B alone, right? 24 squared is 576. 28 squared is what, 728? 724? 784.
My final result was 380 without the cosine.
What problem are you on, man?
I'm on that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, let's not, you can't do that. You got to work one step at a time. So 2 times 28 times 22, I don't know what that is. It's like 1024 or something like that. 1232? Okay. Cosine of B. Okay, we need to get cosine of B alone. It's multiplied by this, so we cannot add or subtract this to this. So we have to add these two together. So 784 plus 484 is 1268 minus 1232 cosine of B. Again, since this is multiplied, we can't mess with this. So we have to subtract 1268 from each side. And we get something like 692 equals negative 1232. Oh, negative 692 equals negative 1232 cosine of B. Divide by negative 1232. Cosine of B equals 0. Give me 4 decimal places here. And then we move the cosine to the other side, so it's the inverse cosine of 0.5616 equals B. So angle B equals what? So that one's a little bit more work. Okay, that one's a little bit more work. Okay, angle of elevation, angle of depression. So somebody is looking down towards a point here, which means the same thing as looking up here. We have opposite. We have adjacent. What trig function is opposite adjacent? So the tangent of angle x equals the opposite side 5 over the adjacent side 30. To get x alone, we move the x to the other side so it becomes the inverse tangent of 5 over 30. The inverse tangent of 5 over 30 is what? How many degrees? Like 9.6 or something like that?
9.46.
So it's 9.5 degrees to the nearest 10. Okay? So a person whose eyes are 5 feet above the ground. So the person's probably 5'4". Okay? So a 5'4" person looking up at a flagpole at an angle of 40 degrees and they're 30 feet from the flagpole. How high is the flagpole? How tall is the flagpole? Well, to figure that out, we have this triangle here. Okay? So you have to figure out what y is first and then add on the extra 5 feet that their eyes are above the ground. So this is opposite. This is adjacent. What trig function? So the tangent of 40 degrees equals opposite over adjacent and then multiply by 30. Y equals what? 25.2. And then if you add the extra 5 feet that the person is above the ground, it's 30.2 feet. Last one, area. If we're finding the area of a triangle and we know side angle side, we just take 1/2 of one side, 21, times the other side, 18, times the sine of 46. What is the area?